sort of paradigm shift, consultants are needed to accelerate development. And I was part of a company called Fjord, which really drove the service design era forward, particularly on mobile. And what Sami is and his company is doing is he drives this world of digital twins, mixed reality, sort of virtuality, and enables that to become different types of engagement platforms. And so Sami has a sort of unique perspective on things, and what will bring the perspective specifically that this emerging ecosystem that Nvidia is building. And of course in the mobile service ecosystem emergence, it was Apple and Google who enabled service creation. But I think very much that Nvidia is going to be a player of the future. And we asked you guys to have a look at Jensen Huang's keynote from the developer conference. And yesterday I looked at another talk which I strongly recommend if you want to take a note. So it's at it's a sort of 3 weeks ago or 12 days ago at the Sequoia Accent AI conference. There's a guy called Jim Fan, and he gives a 7.5-minute talk on the physical Turing test and sort of Nvidia's roadmap for embodied AI. It is a mind-bending presentation, and I would definitely select this presentation than scrolling on TikTok for 17 minutes. So check it out on YouTube. But Sami, please take us away on a journey, in the ecosystem of Nvidia and digital twins, agents, etc.
Sure. Thank you, Christian. Wow. This is awesome. So my name is Sami Heineken, and I'm from the company called as Younite. And must say, first of all, nice to be here. Super awesome, and see familiar faces here. And one thing I have to say is that back in the days when me and, for example, Sirta here from the back, front seat, we were doing service design back in the days. Fjord was the big one. We were like, oh, Fjord, maybe someday. But they will have turned. You are sitting there, and I'm here, so must have done something right. But yes. Just to let you know, the material that I have here, I created yesterday, and that's kind of really bad habit if you want to have kind of a really fluent kind of a presentation, because usually it means that you don't know what you wrote last night. So let's take kind of a angle into this, that I have lots of things to tell you, and this is somewhat helping me to let all that come out. So at any time when you have any questions, please interrupt me and go for it. I know there's a Q&A after this. But if there's something, you can always pause me. Until how much time I have?
About 45 minutes.
45 minutes. Okay.
But if you want to use less, the more time for questions. So we're sort of we're at your mercy.
Right. Super awesome. And by the way, about this screen here, this is of course it's a GGI. It's virtual. It's our early tests on top of Nvidia Omniverse platform. Our artists were trying out that how the Excel tool works, how to play with the shadow and light, and how to bring our customers' assets like silver bolts into that one. And they managed to do pretty well already from the really beginning of the things. Our history is actually from the gaming engines, but maybe more about that later. And today I'm talking about like Nvidia ecosystem from my point of view. Yes.
To understand your point of view, can you tell a little bit about your history and what you have done before?
Yes, I'm coming there.
Okay.
Thank you. Great question. And just kind of context for this, giving you kind of a Nvidia kind of driven point of view to things. of course, we have also other kind of views into what we're doing, but Nvidia is our kind of at the point of our strategy nowadays. So, yes. So, name is Sami Heineken, and I'm a kind of a CTO of 3D and XR. Meaning, why it's like kind of is that like never actually figured out what's my proper kind of a role, because I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I always deep dive into the latest technologies, what's happening, and taking the most out of it. And I was about to give you kind of a history lesson, kind of a legacy stuff, what we've been doing, but maybe about that a little bit later in the fire chat section, because I have lots of things what we did back in the days in terms of XR. For example, we did like JVG Vappu Mayday concert in Metaverse for 3 million viewers in live from Kattilakoski because of COVID. But those kind of stories kind of require more time than I have here. So I've been into this business for a long time. I was back in the days like working for a small company called as Visual Systems that was led by a Finnish bulldozer called as Pekka Piljakainen. Then the company was acquired by Tieto, and there we met with Sirte, or at Visual. And then Tieto was a little bit kind of a, well, you know Tieto. I was starting to do consultation to Nokia, and then Nokia wanted to have me, and then I traveled through the whole Nokia thing somewhere like 2004 to 2013, and then I departed to Sanoma. At Sanoma we were doing almost same kind of things, meaning big data, what to do with the big data, how to harmonize all the data. The same thing what we were doing actually at the Nokia. Actually, I'm kind of a father, or at least one of those fathers or mothers of Nokia account or Sanoma account, because we needed to have some kind of a account for consumers. And maybe a little bit of my background a little bit later, but let's go forward because I have stuff here. So what we do, back in the days we established this company from 3 different parts. We had a FinLabs that was kind of an Oulu-driven Nokia engineers having great kind of full stack understanding of how to do mobile apps and such in Oulu and Helsinki, and also in New York. And then there was a AI company called as Alt Company led by Henkka Hyppönen. I don't know if you know this celebrity, a very wise man, and I like him a lot and knows about AI a lot nowadays. I'm kind of bowing to him. And then me, kind of XR3D. So we 3 went together, FinLabs, Alt Company, and my kind of a small company. And then we kind of created this new company called as Younite. And ever since we've been kind of understanding where we are going to, what's the like tomorrow's kind of application and software layer and use cases and what's the place of AI, what's the place for the 3D, all that stuff. And it's been kind of a long learning journey from like past 2 or 3 years. And I guess we're now like getting it fully, because like my phone rings all the time, like from Nvidia and like all other companies, like, hey, we have this problem, can you help? And then we go, yeah, sure, but then we have like lots to do already, so we're super happy, super busy. And about those details later, what they are. And yeah, Nvidia no longer from our point of view is just a kind of a hardware manufacturer, but they have this ecosystem. And we're the first ones to have the kind of partnership of Omniverse, that is kind of a visualization layer, the 3D stuff, and then the AI, meaning that our people have the latest understanding of how to do AI within Nvidia ecosystem. And I'm the dude who takes care of the 3D XR and how to merge that with AI. And by the way, we actually demolished our 3D and XR and AI teams. Now they're all together, because that's the only meaningful way to make that work in a way that you don't say that, okay, we create this awesome thing and then we just glue the AI on top of that just to say that now it's AI enabled. That's not what we're trying to do. 60 plus people in New York, Helsinki, Oulu. I'm from the Helsinki office. guys in New York are mostly taking care of our US customers, and all we have kind of a hub of like super nerds. They have the latest understanding, and the actual city of the company actually sits there. And just back in the days, we had this kind of a challenge that in our context, you can do almost anything, and it's really hard to sell anything. That's a headache. That's like first kind of a worst. This is what you can do is to start selling anything. So eventually, we realized from customer feedback that we should have a clear focus on digital twins, because digital twin. Okay, it's not the next slide. Anyway, digital twin is kind of a core of everything what we do, and those like synthetic data, immersive experiences, and all the configurators and everything else are just uses, value creating use cases of digital twin. And more about that a little bit later. But kind of the synthetic data currently is booming a lot. And not sure if you know what is synthetic data, but for the machine vision or any machine learning, you need lots of quality data to train the AI. And for the visual language model or like YOLO models or something, you need lots of good data. And we have a customer in Asia, and they have this kind of a challenge that they every now and then typhoon hits that island, and then they have lots of like floating here and there, and they're now in process of installing 16,000 CCTV cameras across the whole city of that. Maybe I shouldn't say that loud, what city, but anyway, one Asian city, and after 2 years, when they have those cameras in place, they need to have their AI looking at the picture all the time, understanding what are the kind of early signs of flooding, meaning like maybe the road gets a little bit glossy and stuff like that. So they need to have that after 2 years. So we are currently in process of like creating a photorealistic digital twin of that city. And then we started to create lots of synthetic data that they can start training the AI already now, meaning that in simulated environment, we can already together to trigger flooding or any other kind of a natural disaster, and then we can train it like in a way that once after 2 years the model is ready, we in a way just switch the video input from CCTV cameras from simulated to real one, and it should work. And the same applies with the that kind of civil use. But also, you can imagine from the defense industry point of view, that's really interesting, how to train, for example, UAVs. Please.
Where do you get the data from?
You mean the synthetic data?
Yeah.
From the digital twin. In a way that we can create digital twins in many shapes and forms and sizes. We can create smart ring digital twin. But currently we are creating, I'm going to show you a little bit later, but city-size digital twins. We are currently doing full-size Detroit and Cleveland, also Göteborg, together with Nvidia. And I have the funny stuff a little bit later, but pictures tell more of the stories. And then we have those immersive experiences like more conventional, like XR and AI, all that stuff, like should I have a headset audio on when I interact with the data, or should I use some like laptop or some, I don't know, some other way to interact with the data. And then fourth one is of course like the most obvious use case for digital twins is product configurator. And for example, Saxdor, the Finnish boat manufacturer, the really good looking boat manufacturer is one of our customers. Can't remember if I have example here, at least I have a still image, but a little bit about that later. But beyond these use cases or domains, we have like tons of other like stuff, but these are the things we usually highlight and underline when we start having discussions with the customers, that do they have some kind of a digital twin already, what data they have to drive that data digital twin, and what kind of needs and challenges they currently have that we could possibly solve with digital twin and AI. This is kind of a stepping stone to the next slide. So this is coming back to those kind of a conventional immersive experience that we do for the, if you know the company called Vario, they manufacture like a human eye resolution headsets, VR headsets, and mixed reality headsets. But that's not necessarily the thing. The thing is the next one. The guys from Vario actually went and started up a new company called as Distance Technologies. And what they do actually is it's kind of a headless, headless, no headless, no headset needed kind of a mixed reality device that can be installed on cars or planes or something. So that's going to be kind of a next big thing that you can interact with the data in a way that there's no need for glasses, there's no need for headset, and you can just like start tinkering with that. And maybe a little bit later about Distance Technologies, but please go and check this company out. Distance Technologies, it's going to be huge. Okay, that was a little bit kind of off, but now to the kind of give you context of our customers. And from the digital twin point of view, the major customer has been, in a way, the one that has been teaching us the most is the Ford. I guess the Ford is kind of reason like 4 years ago when I get involved with this group of people like Finlamps and Alt Company and whatnot to start like helping Ford US motor company to understand how to use digital twins and there we did lots of like R&D and kind of create lots of like asset management systems for digital twins and how to utilize those and etc. And of course, like let's say at least half of all of that work is to kind of have the organization kind of wrestle that how to push that message, how to make people understand that this is the kind of a these are the opportunities what digital twins actually bring to you, because it's not something you can maybe like get immediately. You need to play with those a little bit and then kind of understand, oh, that is possible, that is possible, that is possible. Usually it's kind of around life cycles of product design or like product ownership life cycle. All of those can benefit from use of digital twins. And nowadays we're all into Nvidia tools house, and kind of we used to be all into Unreal Engine, and of course some did Unity. We didn't punish for that, but it was their sidekick. But anyway, Unreal Engine was the thing. We're still using Unreal Engine for several different use cases. It's totally depending of the use case. That does it need to be portable? Does it need to be real time? Does it need to run on that laptop? Does it need to run on the web? Does it need to be B2B something? So then what we did, and what actually Nvidia also did, they in a way detached the kind of a 3D presentation layer from the actual 3D file. And the second icon there that has the boxes is actually from the USD, Universal Scene Description file. And if there's something good left out from the metaverse days, all that bandwagon, is the USD format. It's a open source 3D format for 3D files, and it was invented by Pixar and Disney, like back in the days, for their own movie making kind of needs. But we are using now that, and that's kind of a raw material, raw 3D for all NVIDIA driven use cases. All the digital twins what we build are USD files, and at that point it's kind of a combination of 3D mesh, and then the data and all the different variations and all the data you integrate into it. So the USD is kind of helping us to get rid of the presentation layer that we're stuck with Unity, Unreal, or Omniverse or something else. So we just play first with the digital twin on USD, and then we design which way to go with the use case. And yeah, this is quite obvious because I already said this, but we were the first ones to have both Omniverse and AI partnership here in Nordics. Okay, now the fun stuff. So this is one of those examples. This is a Ford Mustang 2024. A couple of years ago, Ford had this kind of a challenge that they had to train their own people to know inside out what's the new Ford Mustang 2024 looks like for all different market areas, meaning like in Indonesia, in the States, in the Nordics. Of this one specific Mustang, there are like, I don't know, 30 different variants, like left-hand side, right-hand side, with the roof, no roof, different spoilers. There was like 20 different spoilers, different colors, rims, all that stuff. And we helped them to create this tool that their own people within the Ford globally can open up that system, and then they pick what's their region. And then we, in a way, limited the things what they can see, only to give them kind of idea of the items they can sell within their own region. And that environment there is also like 3D. We created this, you can actually fly here freely and take a look at the kind of all the knitting, all the textiles, all that stuff. And the environment there is actually also created by us. We do those kind of branded environments, meaning that if you just bring that kind of a Mustang into empty void, it gives you kind of a somewhat neutral kind of a story, kind of a thing in your head that, okay, it fits, doesn't necessarily fit into my lifestyle. But once you get having these kind of branded 3D environments, then you get to have the full story of what, for example, Ford is trying to tell you, or some of the big ones like Volvo, they are having really kind of a strict kind of a visual story they want to tell through their kind of a branded environments only. And then comes the product on top of that. So this one is the Mustang, and Ford designers with our designers were having these kind of calls where they were going through is the kind of closing of that letter, like is it like right, and is the normal mapping making it like kind of have this kind of a smooth feeling, is it right, and all those things, and all the car paints, all that we had to do very carefully, and that's what we're currently really proud of. And the same goes with the Saxter boats, that we had the kind of physical sample box that we then kind of compared that what we are doing here, and then create those digital twins good looking. And this is the digital twin can be a smart ring, or it can be a car, or it can be a boat, or it can be a city. This is actually a downtown Detroit, actual one. Our GTI version of that, but the actual, because there's a investment company called as Bedrock, and that company owns almost entire center of the Detroit, and we've been modeling the entire city for a couple of years already, and it starts to look really good, and they're using for their own purposes, meaning like sales and marketing, and also together with city officials to make the Detroit look really nice, and because the Detroit had its kind of bad days back in the days when it was totally ruined and etc. So now they're using this digital twin model not only for the real estate kind of needs, but also together with city officials to think about like parks and entertainment and all that stuff. And we're really proud that we've been able to help them on this. And now it's expanding out from the Detroit. We are currently doing Cleveland. Same kind of thing, that you can actually like drop someone there and it still looks good. The problem, for example, with the cesium, Google and Bing tiles is that it looks good from this distance, but once you take the camera to the street level, it's terrible. So what we do here is it looks really good. It's a really we have almost the entire kind of a replication of individual trees, not really, but almost. And this is the one of the earliest. That's by the way compressed that image over there. Actually looks better on my laptop. But anyway, that's it. DG, yet another kind of example of digital twin floating there on the lake or sea. And then our artists have created this kind of environment where you can have these kind of product shootings. Especially here in Finland, the problem with the boat manufacturing is that those boats are manufactured and designed, the new ones, in the winter time. So there's no kind of a chance to have the perfect finished weather to do the shooting of the video or something. So you need to have this kind of virtual place where you can always go and start shooting those videos. And this is the Saxter case. So, damn, I'm so super sorry that it's compressing that image. But anyway, trust me, it looks super good. So another example. So here is Saxo Boats, and we're helping them to create this kind of point of sales experience that when you have the kind of exclusive customer visiting your shop, you can stand there in front of kind of a LED screen, and then you can start having this kind of a natural dialogue with the things you love, and then the kind of AI drives that conversation. Then some different stuff, maybe not jumping into that one now, maybe to the actual stuff. Okay, so this is actually the beef now today. So we're using Omniverse to bring all these things together, meaning that we have physics there, we have the USD files, then we have real-time rendering, and then we, for example, this is from the case where our customer was having this kind of issue that they have a logistics stuff coming in, stuff going out, and then they need to do this kind of understanding that do we have the pallet that just came in, does it already left the building or not, and this kind of you don't have possibility to put any kind of tags on it, any kind of a QR code on top of it, or anything else. So we're helping to generate this synthetic data in this environment, and also train the AI to see. And this current one is actually running on top of was it like Mega on Omniverse system, and this kind of a traditional kind of a setup that B2B business is usually coming to us to ask for. And what else? And it's then totally up to the customer that do they have some real-time data that we can start like integrating into these kind of systems. Like, for example, for the boating company, they have a product information management system where you can get the latest product data in. But in this case, you can have the kind of a data of like individual pallets or something that it's first scanned when it comes in, and then you can have the identity through, for example, when the pallet goes from this camera to this camera, our AI can actually track that, yeah, it was the same pallet that you saw here, now it's here, and now it's going out. So it's usually the kind of a pipeline what we have with customers, if it's manufacturing industry, this is now a little bit different, is that we usually get the kind of a CAD file in, and that's not suitable for like digital use. You need to clean it up a lot actually. CAD is usually meant for the kind of how to set up like tools and manufacturing line to make that actual product, but we need to have that model to include all the different variants, all the colors, and all the stuff, and then we start like integrating all the data into it. So yes, let's go to the next one.
Sorry, just a question.
Yes, please.
If you'd like to talk about the technical stuff and all that, how much effort do you put in optimization?
Yes, this is a really good question. Back in the days with the Unreal Engine or those other things, optimization, if you mean like visualization optimization or USD, yeah. Because like Unreal Engine was meant for the gaming industry. You make games for almost any kind of a laptop or phone. You needed kind of a very versatile or great kind of optimizing system that comes by default within that system, that once you start creating stuff on top of that SDK, it takes care of the optimization, like different level of details, LODs and all that stuff, like streaming stuff. But with Omniverse, because it's Jensen Huang, it's in a way opposite, because they want to still sell the hardware. They in a way solve the kind of optimization just to put more hardware there. Just kind of brute force optimization that, okay, it doesn't run, let's put more. And then you have so many like servers there doing the work that eventually might work. So that's kind of but it's, in a way it's great, because then you don't need to spend time optimizing stuff. It's just enough to make it look good and integrate to all the data, but like for the optimization, it's like in a way, from my point of view, it's thrown out from window. No need.
So you pay the price with money?
Yes, exactly. Please.
Question about the 3D models of the boat or the digital twins of the boat.
Yeah.
Are those made by the boat companies or by you, or are they 3D scans?
Yeah, that's actually funny story about this boat. It depends of the manufacturer. This is actually a manufacturer called as DG. It's an old company from Porvoo, Finland, and they've been manufacturing these boats for 50 years. And it was acquired by a brand maybe 4 years ago. The owner of similar boats, Terhi boats, and they buy all the manufacturing line of the faster. So they make like 16,000 boats annually. I went to that factory with those guys to meet those guys from that, asking for those 3D files. And they were like, yeah, we have here. And then they open up this kind of a huge drawer, and they had this huge paper with hand-drawn boat. Here it is. I was like, great. So what we had to do in that case was that we had to reverse engineer the boat. We asked some specific company from Jyväskylä to come and scan that with laser. And then we sent that to abroad to people to model it and make it kind of a 3D file. And now that what we actually did, that reverse engineered model, it's nowadays their de facto master of that boat. Now when they design does the kind of a new fuel tank fit into there, they are using this model what we actually did for them. But for example, for the Saxdor company, of course, they have kind of proper CAD file always coming in. So our kind of part is just to clean it up and make things like materials and animations and all that kind of things.
Have you ever used 3D scanning?
With the DG, yes. This one we had to 3D scan with laser.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see a hand there.
I have a question. How does AI integrate into these products?
Yes. We have this 3D pipeline that depends on the customer and customer case. In a way, the process that we clean out things once they are ready, up and running as a digital twin, it consists of like maybe 20 different steps, and kind of a starting point is always a little bit different. And it's kind of all game houses have their own secret sauce, how this pipeline goes, and as do we. We have our own kind of a secret sauce pipeline. And back in the days, most of those 20 steps were manual, and still the most critical ones are still manual work. So there's one artist doing the actual nitty-gritty work, but we're now bringing in Gen AI and all kind of automated process to take care of those things, those parts, what we can. But we can see that there's no one way to just like automate all of that with AI yet. So it's going there. And another one is UI stuff. And about that one a little bit later, because I think I need to go forward at least a bit. More about the suited data. So this is kind of a very interesting area, as I said already. So we are creating currently lots of these kind of, from my point of view, it consists of 3 different phases. In order to have a machine vision model to understand what's happening there in the picture, you need to train it with real data or simulated data. And we help companies, we help people to get started quickly with the simulated data, first ball here. And of course, it doesn't actually replace the need for the real data, but that comes later. It doesn't like substitute, it's kind of a nice start. But we help customers to first of all, have that huge amount of suited data. When we bring the digital twin to kind of a center of the Omniverse, we use this Nvidia tool called as Replicator to create like thousands of different images of that product from all different angles. And then you have this massive set of like raw data in a way that used to be photos. And then the kind of a next step is that with that you start training your AI. And it can be for example YOLO. I don't possibly some of you been training YOLO models. So you need kind of bounding boxes that this area of this picture represents this and that. So with that metadata and those kind of assumed data images or videos, you then start like training the AI. And then the third part is that you need to, and you want to test it. So we also create those test environments where you can fly, for example, here, and try out the model. Does it detect like truck on the ground? So create the data, train the AI, then testing and simulating, does it work, and then production. And that, of course, applies not only in defense, but like civil side and healthcare, for example.
Sorry.
Yes.
Question. Do the twins have other kinds of data or characteristics than visual, such as mass or
Yeah.
surface or structure?
Yeah, exactly. It's not a digital twin if it doesn't include, I can't say any data, but you can't honestly say that it's a digital twin if it doesn't include data. So the data is always something that helps it to fulfill the need of the use case. But it can be like history data, it can be some suspension data from the car, it can be like data of the unique item in real world or generic data item in the real world. So yes, but the data model is always different. But let's put it this way, that more you integrate data into it, better it gets in a way. So yeah, it should have and must have data. And there are like a million different reasons why you need. By the way, can I actually share these slides through you after this? So no need to maybe stick with all of this, because there are lots of good stuff like privacy and all that stuff. Maybe not scratching this now.
One question about
Yeah.
the Mustangs.
Yeah.
Do they include the parts that are not visible, or are they mostly outside shells?
Yes, usually those manufacturers, they take off the critical parts, meaning that, for example, the Mustang, actually, the engine there was a kind of just a black kind of mass. Yeah. It was kind of melted like together, so no one actually understands what's happening there. So yeah, they do this kind of cleaning, not really kind of critical parts.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So one question regarding these aspects of the twin.
Mm.
So in addition to the very accurate photorealistic 3D model,
Yeah.
Do you also connect the digital twin with some type of, for example, real-time environmental data that you collect? For example, for the example of the Ford, I can see that it can be partly called a digital twin, because the digital twin needs to have some sort of data in real time connected
exactly.
to the model.
Exactly.
So there is this confusion, so we have done quite a significant amount of research with regard to the twins.
Yeah, exactly.
And so there is a tendency to call a very accurate model and also a simulation
Yeah.
a twin.
Yeah.
Why this confusion?
Yeah.
So how can you clarify that one?
Good point. This is almost the same thing as we back in the days had with the metaverse, that when someone starts to explain what is metaverse, you always get a different answer. So same goes here, that is exactly what we are aiming at, that it needs to be real time regarding some real world object, but we are not usually getting there, because usually it's about some kind of a generic item, etc. So you're absolutely right. That's kind of a target state, but usually, for example, simulations, what we do within Omniverse, some warehouse where some truck is moving pallets, it's driven by a human or a bot, and then it's integrated with some real-time data. But what kind of, from the really pure point of view, it's not actually that kind of fulfilling that kind of a description of what is digital twin. So yeah, absolutely right. And just about that, we've been thinking about kind of a meaningfulness of the like photorealistic stuff, about that do we need to have photorealistic stuff? But it has been actually really good kind of angling these things when, for example, the machine vision starts like having more momentum. So when we are doing like photorealistic stuff, and when the Gen AI and machine vision get starting like on the speed, they in a way fit together very nicely. So that's and by the way, I can't remember if I have it here. I have it there, but we do it later. Oh man, time flies. I trying to be quick with the rest of the stuff. So this is the kind of a case, preview stuff from this case from the Asia, where we are creating tons of these kind of different contexts and situations. Not gonna scroll this video to the middle where it's the flooding one, but they have different kind of use cases coming in, that there's a traffic sabotage, flooding, jaywalking, all those kind of things, and then we help them to understand the stuff. This not for production, this preview stuff. But for example, that crash we can generate from like million different angles and kind of different context, and then finally AI says, that is a car crash. So then we're done. And this is really interesting. I must admit that you guys now must know more about this, because I haven't had time to look all those awesome Nvidia videos that are coming like all the time out. But this in a way struck me. Was last week Tuesday or Monday or week before that, we had a seminar where Nvidia was talking, and they said that they no longer this physical AI is like simulating stuff in virtual environment. Instead, you have a robot, then you put that physical AI in it, and then say go, and then there it in a way simulates and learns in real life, and it starts having this kind of a understanding of things, how things work. It learns walking, crawling, all of that stuff, and that's kind of a thing we just have. I have it personally, but this is something big that kind of changed like a lot of things. So meaning that soon we're like with the AGA, artificial general intelligence, or something like that. So soon that will happen with these kind of things. It's like matter of months or maybe a year or two. So if you have time, go and check out physical AI. Okay, now one of my kind of favorite theses before like going fast forward is we have this kind of a, because we're in a way like more used to be kind of a artisan, kind of a handmade like photorealistic 3D and digital twin stuff people. We've been thinking that what happens when the Gen AI comes, meaning that when you can start prompting, etc. Of course, our people, we've been like playing with Gen AI a lot. But what's the moment when either 3D dies or Gen AI does something else? Most likely Gen AI won't go away, but what happens to 3D? So actually what we figure out, like when having lots of like cigarettes and coffee, don't smoke, I don't do that, was that eventually they will go together, meaning that the kind of role of 3D moves towards more of kind of controlling the Gen AI, meaning that back in the days, if we have to do, for example, photorealistic environment of some city or some context, some forest or something, we had to do that manually until to the end, meaning that the last touch we still did by hand. But with Gen AI, we only need to do, let's say, 90% of that. We can, for example, left all the material out of it. It can be totally gray. And then we, in a way, just per use case or need, we just say to the Gen AI, for example, Cosmos, that make this look like wintertime, or make this look like summertime, or make this look slippery, etc. So more and more 3D is coming to together merge with Gen AI, and they are gonna be one and same, like say within a year or two. So you don't do 3D, you don't do Gen AI, you do I don't know what it's called, like then when it's like everyday kind of a thing, but like you don't make the difference. And then the people, meaning like the roles, the stuff people need to learn, is it gonna be like because we used to have like creative 3D artists, creative environmental artists, and then we have on the other hand AI engineering people and all of that. We don't even know what are those kind of new roles in the future. So this is really interesting. And one kind of a strong enabler of that is Nvidia Cosmos. That's kind of the latest and greatest in terms of like generating something that can happen in real life. It's trained with 20 million hours of video footage, and it can generate stuff what can happen in real life. You can't tell it to make something to fly, but it can like make that meter or something. So go and check Nvidia Cosmos. And then one of those cases with Gen AI is, oops, sorry, I shouldn't stop here. Just giving you the kind of context is Finnish lock manufacturer or smart lock manufacturer. They have this kind of a challenge that they need lots of these like good-looking brand images, and they need to make it in quantity, and the quality needs to be there. And there is kind of a challenge that, okay, what to do with those branded environments. And last year we visited SIGGRAPH in Denver, and we met Shutterstock and Getty people from the Gen AI department. Now they are one and same, but back then they are separate. So we create this kind of studio where you can bring in the kind of a twin of your product, and then you can start like prompting that what that background needs to be. And this is a kind of example of that. The product, what we did was Younite Studio. And that was like end of last year, and that was actually flat two-dimensional stuff. But now it's moving towards that you don't prompt like 2D, you prompt actually 3D scenes. And I'm not saying that we are generating or prompting like nerfing stuff there, like make a class or model or something. But instead, we have a kind of a USD library of items, and then we tell Gen AI that make this empty space look like an office. Then it goes and it puts the sofa over there and curtains and chairs over there, and then we can type in some like it needs to fit for 100 people, and then it makes the kind of change. So it already broke out from the kind of a flat 2D, the Gen AI. So nowadays it's not just like creating stuff that looks something, but also like playing a kind of a Lego blocks on some environment. And just briefly about those kind of takeaways is I personally think that when we are doing AI with XR is I personally think that AI's kind of main role, or it's maybe going there, is to be kind of an interpreter between human beings and the big data, or let's say all the data what we can have, and then interact with it with these. And that's a big job to do, meaning that you to kind of have the essential data back and forth, like and that's what is something what we can see in kind of product configurations where you can have this kind of a natural dialogue with the AI, that it's not like turn that car to red or how it looks back or something, but the AI needs to drive the conversation. It needs to feel natural, and then based on those natural discussions, you can see that something forming there in between or in front of your eyes. So that's something that's gonna happen, and it's already happening. That, for example, I'm waiting for that moment, or actually it's already happened. Then when I can have here stuff hovering and spottily aware of the space, and that's a way to start interacting with the big data. And then it's all about like whose data I'm here using. And I guess it's gonna be the next kind of a war of ecosystems like Apple, Google, or any other Meta trying to sell that extra layer of this world to me, back to myself, create my friends for free. What is this? Okay, this is just the Saxtor case. So this is the one you can try with discussion or having that kind of a conversation. This video actually includes no sound, so there's no conversation. But anyway, this was one of those where you can really see the same thing as with the Mustang, that all the kind of materials are carefully like created and created to really follow the. And one of the major things what they love at the Saxo is that they are not able to show how this looks in Miami or Amalfi, and also those underwater lights they can show. So with this one they can show how it looks like, and yeah, that's one thing. This from this summer. What else? Yeah, coming.
What's the name of the video? I would like to look at it.
I guess if you just like Google Younite.ai, this most likely is there as one of the use cases. Wrong direction. Yeah, so Nvidia from our point of view is kind of a huge kind of stack of all kind of capabilities, and it's fair to say that there's like they have the momentum. The Jensen Huang is kind of a really huge rock star. I was participating in the GTC in San Jose like a couple months ago, and when Jensen was having this keynote speech there at the stadium that was like 1 kilometer from the actual site, we didn't fit in because there was like, I don't know, 10 or 20,000 people queuing into that keynote, and we were like, okay, we're not that big fans of Jensen. We are big fans, but not that big. So we were watching that on the yard. So there are like lots of good stuff coming in, and Jensen is kind of a next rock star, kind of like Bill Gates or someone else, kind of taking that position. But the tech is really new. Tech is like merging. It's fair to say it's bleeding edge, and usually when they have these keynote speeches and get people really excited, we get also really excited and ask our customers and potential customers. And then they go to Nvidia and they're like, we want to have this, what you just showed. And how it goes there is that those guys then next call us. And at that point we're like, oh, we heard this like a week ago, and okay, let's do it. And then when we go back to Nvidia, we see that they, at that point, in those early days, it's usually the documentation is not that great. It's usually like lacking almost half of things what we need. So we start tinkering and playing and doing kind of R&D, and a lot of those things what they show there are not necessarily even possible today when it's unknowns, but maybe after a couple of months. So there's kind of this kind of expectation management needed and required, that you need to be aware that yes, that's possible, but not necessarily today, but maybe after 2 months. But that's the fun part, because I love that. We're kind of the bleeding edge. The unknowns is kind of a perfect kind of a soil to start growing something new. Because at least I think, because I'm so bloody old, that my first kind of IT boom was when the internet was booming for the first time in 90s, like 96 or something. I was there surfing that wave. So I get bored nowadays really easily if there's no more challenges. So Nvidia is perfect for that. Also in a way that there's always like those like things no one has tried before you. Most likely in lab in Nvidia it works, but when you bring it out, it doesn't necessarily work. So that's the thing what we love most, to start like having those ideas and playing with those different technologies. And to be honest, we don't necessarily, or I mean, us geeks at the Younite, we don't necessarily know where this leads us to, but then we luckily have those business people who can then like start saying, that looks promising. Let's do something and deep dive into that one more. So Nvidia owners and AI is kind of a SDK or platform where you can start like building almost any kind of a business with AI and digital twins and USD files and all that stuff. Is that it?
A director goes into a rehearsal.
Maybe the final thing here is this, maybe additional, just to show you how wide our scope is. That a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, we did for the Ballet and Opera of Helsinki, we did this digital twin of their stage, And their problem is kind of a limited stage time to design new productions, meaning that where there's a new play coming in, they need to go and measure the stage and where we put the tree and all the props. So they wanted to have this kind of a digital duplicate of that to start like trying out those things early phases, and then they recycle those operas and ballets globally. So we helped them to build that system, and we actually bought it back last year. So now we're like taking that forward. So this is just a kind of a glimpse of that, and maybe after this one I'm done with this one.
A director goes into a rehearsal room with a sense of where that rehearsal will go. Younite Virtual Stage offers the opportunity to explore ideas before going into the rehearsal room.
Virtual Stage is fully functional digital twin of our main stage and auditorium.
You can simulate in a photorealistic model, whether by screen or VR classes. You can be on a real stage and feel the space.
It's like a living dollhouse that you can play with. So it's a very good tool for testing different options.
We can really see how artistically the concept works or not.
At a much earlier stage, production is coming out of the head and into a reality.
This is a theatrical tool that works fantastic. It saves resources, it helps improve creativity, it gives wonderful results in the end. Honestly, it's a fabulous tool. Honestly, I'm in love with it.
All right. Let's see. Yeah, sorry. Just. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. All right. Any questions?
So before we take questions, who, before this session, who thought of Nvidia as a ecosystem and a platform?
What was the question again?
So who thought of Nvidia as a sort of next, platform, something like, Android and iOS? So maybe 10%. So I think that's a good thing, because then we are exposing you to the future, and then when you're on the bleeding edge, you need to close business. So somebody needs to buy what you're buying, and how do you convince some people to pay for your work? Because that's an art.
Yes.
In itself.
It is. I'm in a kind of a nice position that, of course, it's my headache and responsibility to make money for the company, but I'm the kind of a free thinker in a way that as long as I understand how to adopt the latest and what to do with it, and then they go to customer meetings and be able to connect customers with the different opportunities, with their challenges, then that's fine. But usually the kind of a business cases are coming already from the kind of a customer point of view, meaning that they already have some context. For example, data warehouses nowadays is the big thing, that companies are coming to us to help them that they need a digital twin to help planning their current and coming floor planning of digital twin data warehouses. So we can, in a way, also from the kind of a Nvidia communication, we can isolate those kind of a key selling items or areas where to focus to. And there is like 1,000 different things already, and we are like have selected like some, but then we have our own kind of a selection of different products what we want to do. But it's, yeah, I know, it's with these kind of things, it's always kind of a thing that someone needs to pay for your payroll and it's fun to be creative and such, but there needs to be always the guy or lady from the company who comes and says that kill it or like let's make money with that one.
Great. So I'm hopeful we have some questions. I saw some hands already here. So do you want to please go ahead? Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the AGI a bit.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of protocols if you create the AGI and for example if it goes rogue?
I'm lucky to have a specific people from AI side who actually lead the AI discussion from ethical and moral side. So I would, in that case, take that problem and give it to that guy.
Yeah.
That's my kind of solution to that. But that we haven't had that kind of issue yet. But good question.
So,
yeah. Did you study something or go to university or anything?
Yeah, it's a kind of a mess. I studied in university at the what's the computer science, but where is the mathematiskt luonnontieteet? I can't remember whatever that is in English. But nevertheless, I was there. But then Nokia came and Sami came here, and the same thing actually happened there when I was studying software engineering and electric engineering. The internet wave #1 was taking me out. So
why did the Nokia take you?
It was hot at that time. They wanted to have all the different like people from the school to do that work. So I realized that okay, and the tricky thing is that they what to study nowadays when the kind of AI is taking. Let's put it this way, that all the math and coding related work, what happens to those ones if AI is taking over all those things? And maybe kind of a need for talent or need for at least kind of it's emerging in a way is that what's left if math and science is taken away from human beings? Well, it's creativity and like design and like natural communication and being human and creating culture. So maybe that is still something that will also be something what we humans do in the future. So maybe let's put it this way, that maybe the math and science is not going down, but the kind of the creativity, design, all that is like merging, and maybe studying those ones would be kind of a good bet on a long period of time.
Microsoft just announced a couple of days ago, I think maybe yesterday, an AI foundry tool or environment for building low-code, no-code digital twins in an environment for this. Do you know anything more about this?
I just saw that LinkedIn posting where was Mary and please help me, not the lady from Seda. But anyway, I just saw it, didn't read it. I need to read it, so no need.
We'll have this discussion later.
Yes, let's have it later. So I don't know that. Yep.
Yeah, please.
I can see that there's a lot of futuristic technology here.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a question. Do you have researchers to stay up to date and be creative and show your solution?
Well, I'm one of those, but we don't have kind of researchers such. We have a geeky people who are like all into the latest emerging bleeding edge that can make some trouble in a way or another. So fearless people, but we don't have that kind of at least at this point of time. We have kind of a certain set of people, but no. Let's put it this way: that we are hands full of everything, and no one has actually time to do actual research stuff. Yes.
Hi, do you think that digital twins and synthetic data is going to be in the future relevant for individuals as well? For example, you could make a digital twin of your home, or I'm thinking like of your body even for like health purposes.
Yeah.
Is that something that might become relevant in the future?
And there actually have been like those kind of initiatives already, for example, here in Finland. When I was like visiting short time at the theater. I was there back for 6 months, a couple years ago. There we were thinking about like, well, of course, at that time they had this kind of empathic building that Tommi Teikko leads all the sensors and stuff and really replicated what's happening there in different floors. And then we have this kind of ideas of like when you're planning to have a new apartment, you can start like configuring that with all the different moving parts and giving AI to task to decorate your home, the forthcoming. So there are a lot of those, and also from the healthcare side, like make a kind of a digital twin of yourself for medical purposes is, I guess it's already like today happening, but maybe not necessarily from the visual point of view, but from the data point of view. But yes, it's most likely yes is the answer to your question. It makes sense. Yeah.
How do you think about the importance of environments for people working in this field? For example, you're providing, or Omniverse is providing a development surrounding which can be pretty much used everywhere. You don't need to have a facility at Broadway in New York.
Yeah.
But you have, as you're a developer for the system, I understand. But how about the importance of metropolitan areas?
You mean if, like developers like us, or like in general, like work home?
Actually, both, because developers, not like for example manufacturing, they stick to sites where manufacturing is actually located, but it's changing with the shift towards simulation.
Yeah, well, I can only say from our own point of view that after COVID, it's been kind of a mix of being at the office and etc. But it's now merging into kind of a solid state in a way that for certain things I need to be at the office, but if I want to concentrate and actually do something and be able to establish something, I need to stay home because no interruptions. So I guess that's almost the same thing with all of us, that there's some kind of balance. And companies asking people to come back to the office, I don't know if that's a kind of a right call, because the whole kind of a society is in change because of AI and all that stuff. So what is work? Where it happens, I don't know. But no kind of a clear answer to that one. But from my point of view, it's kind of a mix of all those. And we even have this kind of well, most of companies have this kind of challenge that you don't even have only one site, but you have multiple sites. And then the one that actually is really annoying, and I can't create any digital twin or AI to help with that, is the time zone. That is currently like killing me, that you first work here until 5 o'clock and then you start the night shift with the West Coast US. So how to fix that? Maybe we all should move to North Pole and work there, because there's no like night and day. I don't know, but I don't know.
I can comment with a sort of anecdote. So we, with my previous company, so called the wearable operating system, we got a call from San Diego, from Qualcomm, that hey guys, can you come and help us, to evolve the next wearable processor, and we didn't start a long talk. The sort of legal part of it took as long as the development, to get the rights, and then we started having conversations, and then there was this one Asian lady that sounded a lot like a sort of liaison manager when we were in sort of calls and video calls. She was taking the notes and all of these types of admin tasks. And because we were dealing virtually, then there's no space or room or habit or manners for small talk. So you don't get to know, what do you like to do, and what's your hobbies, and it's like that's all got cut out. And so then we were then for the big reveal of this processor to all the partners, I then flew to San Diego. It was like the first trip after COVID, and I demoed there live, and then this lady that I sort of talked to, that sort of been, you know, an important partner of us, but she wasn't in a way the sort of tech lead, because we were working with the sort of chief engineer of the processor and so on. We then talked, and she said, well, you know, I've been working at ARM for 10 years designing processors. But in our context, she was taking the meeting minutes. So it's like completely undervalued that, because we didn't ever have the elevator ride together. And I think that's why, you know, these guys need an office in Brooklyn, because, you know, you're going to ride the elevator and then you discover something about people that, you know, unites you, and those small things can be invaluable in relationships. Because and luckily I didn't, you know, ever fuck up with her, that, you know, I had some sort of patronizing view, because of course she was way smarter than me, way more experienced, and so in a way I got sort of lucky that we had a good relationship, but it could have gone really sour as well, because of lack of small talk.
Where did you hear this Brooklyn? Was it you saying Brooklyn, or?
Oh no, I was remembering your office. Well, it's not Brooklyn.
Yeah, but you're the first one who actually realized that the image is from the Brooklyn side, but the office is not actually there. It's in the Union Square. But you're the first one, and we had an actually meeting about that hey, the image is actually from the Brooklyn side, but we are not there. So
well, that's another long story. Long story, but
scary.
I've been there at that site.
Yeah, exactly.
Because,
yeah.
Once upon a time in America was shot there, so I remember that image, and it's one of my favorite films.
Because we had a kind of an issue in house that hey, that's from the wrong place.
Yes. All right. Sorry. Next question, please.
I actually looked at my notes that I wrote earlier today. I have 2 tips for kind of a young entrepreneurs. At least these 2 things you need if you want to succeed is that they are. The first one is to get things done in a way, meaning that there are always kind of reasons or some or conditions or some constraints that might say that oh, this is not possible because this and that. But that's rubbish. Just throw it away and just do it, because that's the only way to get forward is to do stuff. That only thing that matters is the thing what you actually do, not the things you actually talk here in front of you. This is meaningless. This my talk. It means something when after this talk you go there and do something, then maybe publish it. That is something. But this kind of just like being besserwisser and talking about things. That's nothing. And the second one is kind of a self-experience kind of learning from Sanoma times, is that I hope that the teams don't get into those kind of situations where you find out later that you were kind of one of those black minds of that working society who were in a way intoxicating the air of that community. Because if there's one or 2 of those kind of individuals, eventually kind of the darkness or the black thing goes through the whole team and it kills everything. It's kind of a nuclear kind of waste that flows on the ground, and nothing will go through there anymore. It's once it's done, it's done. Then you have to swap the whole team to new people. But like to actually do stuff and don't go kind of black-minded. That's my kind of 2 key takeaways from when doing business.
Can you then, when you do that, can you then also figure out how to select optimistic customers? Because if you have pessimists on the team, then you know there's this risk of this sort of darkness spreading. But the same applies on the customer side. That if you don't have optimistic customers, then you know that can-do attitude doesn't translate into business.
Yeah, but usually with those kind of companies, there's no business at all anyway. It doesn't take you anywhere. So they are just mostly likely just like maybe sniffing the air or something, learning something from you, but they are not actually buying something from you. Usually from the very early phases of the first meetings you realize, oh, okay, these guys want something in real, meaning that these are possibly having some kind of a contract or deal with us within the next month. But you can see from the far or distance that okay, with these ones, it's going to last for 12 or 24 months. So it's kind of a natural selection. Doesn't go forward. But also kind of other thing is that you can choose your customers. You just serve that and do your job best you can, and that's your professional kind of a approach to things.
And ask for money.
And yes, exactly.
And that's
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
one of my sort of key. I had a long time ago sort of a touch sensor business that went to hell and it went to bankrupt, and in that business I learned that and in that business we did a lot of free demos. So we did these sort of touch-based TV remotes for Samsung and LG, and then like 24 months later they had touch-based TV remotes. We're like, oh well, they didn't call us. And so then I learned that, well, I'm not going to do any free work. So always, when you do something, ask for money. And lots of people are kind of ashamed to ask for money. But it's just like the easiest and fastest question to ask, are you serious?
Yeah.
Because everybody is happy to have free work done.
Yes. And the fact is that when your company is really young, you're just starting, you have to do those free demos. But eventually, you have to, over some time, need to be able to flip that. Okay, you can do demos, but it's like $10,000 each. So, but it's exactly that. I'm also bad at saying that this costs something. That's why I have those business people coming in because I'm like, I got like money. I don't know what is money, but like luckily to have professionals from that side. Yeah.
Maybe this goes too much back to the discussion about the Nvidia as a platform, but I was kind of curious, having been struggling with Unreal or Unity as a platform for setting up environments for example, some kind of a design user testing in XR, for example. Now, will this Omniverse be much more kind of a lower threshold tool for that, or do you still see that it's
something to get going fast and agile and with medium level hardware, I recommend you to go Unreal at this point. Still, and once it's going towards like B2B solution that's there up and running and it needs to be business critical and makes money, etc., then go Omniverse. But at this point, go Omniverse. Go Unreal. Don't go Unity. That's good. We used to be an Unreal house, so pardon me. Yeah.
More questions?
Yeah.
I was thinking about something, and I'd like to know your opinion about it, your perspective. If someone wants to work freelance in this area, what are the possible opportunities that you can take to get advantage?
That is a good question. Currently, let's put it this way, that at least we need kind of a huge amount of freelancers that are talented and like have some like portfolio to show almost all the time. But I guess we are currently a little bit like exception. It has been a little bit tough times for everyone, like to the ICT sector, etc. So and I have lots of people from gaming industry. I'm just in a way. I can say, I don't know if I can say lucky, but in a way that it's in a way from my advance that gaming companies are actually kicking people out because we need those people from gaming companies, but they don't necessarily need to be from a gaming company. They can be like freelancers from XR3D and whatnot. But times are a little bit like tough currently still, and working freelancer is an easier way to get into the business because there's less risk from the employer to get you on board. So yeah, I fully encourage you to go freelancer. Yeah.
So you mentioned studying more creative subjects, but if we sort of double click on that, what do you think the students should study, and what should the teachers teach?
Exactly. I guess now it's kind of a training, already training for a year or something, the kind of a prompt engineer, but that's kind of I don't mean that. It's a kind of we have really creative people who have like understanding of the visual storytelling, but they also can do the tech underlying, they can use the underlying technologies and tools. Maybe it's like having that kind of a approach to things, that you know how to tell a story, but then you also know which Gen AI tools to use to tell that story, and everything regarding that. But I really don't honestly know that where you can learn that stuff. Is it some kind of a topic or subject in school or something? But most likely you will learn by yourself going to GPT. And by the way, that's one funny thing, is that usually when we have this something new coming from Nvidia, and there's kind of a lack of documentation, we have open in second window, we have a Gemini and ChatGPT, and then we start asking from those that what I do next with this new stuff, and then the winner actually continues in a way that if Gemini gives some better answers, then I stick with that one and go forward with that one. But I first, in a way, like put these two things like compete, which can help me most. Then I killed another one. Okay, you're in. So, sorry, I a little bit slipped from the original question, but it's
but
like
so you use actively now AI as a sort of exo-brain. And a sort of partner.
And kind of what we can see also is that necessary if someone leaves the company, and there's a kind of a place for that kind of a task, especially from the 3D or AI point of view, might be that we try to fulfill that with AI agent, that position. That they in the future you will have kind of a team of 10, but you are the only one who is human, otherwise are AI agents, meaning that you might have your dailies or weekly meetings, but then you are having those with boss, and then you're the one who orchestrates, but you can actually have a project manager lead the kind of group of those AI agents. So that's interesting to see what's humans' role in that kind of play in the future when the actual teams, some Accenture, they have no more 10,000 people, but 10,000 AI agents do that work. But are you willing to pay for the same price for AI agent do the work, or actually being the consultant? I would maybe pay a full price for AI to do that job.
So when do you think you will have a team of AI developers?
That's most likely like matter of like months. I'm just too busy with that. But it's like I already know that first of all our CEO is saying that Sami, you need to hire AI agents to your team. I'm like, okay, but it's like what is that AI agent, and then how to wrap it up the role description and fully explain that to AI, and then AI be capable of doing that something. It's kind of art still. There's no kind of one way to do it. So most likely the roles are maybe something like maybe low-level stuff that can be easily replaced with AI, but not necessarily like some more abstract role. Maybe you need to keep your role so unclear to everyone, so AI can't replace you.
So has anybody of you guys?
I have one thought about
yes,
that.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
After the AI is good enough to replace 10,000 role of workers, I think if the AI just summarizes all the roles of those 10,000 people, it can generate one that can lead all of those. And I don't think the human as a leader is no longer needed if it goes to that point.
Exactly, Skynet calling. Yeah, and actually when you start having these questions to yourself, you end up having this kind of big question that what's our role in the society as a human beings after 2 years? How we do our living?
It starts sounding like a Terminator or something.
Exactly, yeah. This sounding a little bit too familiar. But that's frightening, but also fascinating. That what is this all gonna be after 5 years? I don't know.
And of course now I think what is a sort of extremely important point that Sami made is that, well, we can collectively now, you know, amass this sort of view that glass is half full and it's sort of a dystopia and or we can you know, craft a different narrative. And so next week I managed to sort of fuck up that I don't have a speaker for you next week, and then Jens said, well, Christian, you have lots of stories, so why don't you do it? And I'm now sort of crafting, you know, a speech and a sort of story that's going to be about trying to sort of creating a sort of, where do we find the positive stories? So I will work on that type of answer for you, hopefully, for next week.
I have ideas for you if you need.
Yes, I need, definitely, yes. Yeah, and also, I mean, if, for example, if you have examples of visions that are positive, you know, then just send them my way and to sort of say, hey, this inspires me, this, you know, I get optimistic by this, so let's collaborate on that.
Today when we have this call, I wrote down some things here, maybe
Yes,
worth of
please.
like saying aloud that even though the Nvidia sounds big, it's actually a rather small company. It's only 30,000 employees currently. And that is small. If you think how much things they are currently pushing forward, they are like having hundreds of different products going out, hardware and software. So meaning that when you drill down to some business unit, it's actually pretty small. So they need companies like us to fill that gap. But if you compare that 30,000 to, for example, what we Google today, Google, they have 183,000. And even Nokia had like 2008, 125,000 people. So 30,000 Nvidia is actually a small company. Not in terms of like money, but like in terms of like how many people they have. And
I think I remember very well when Nokia was like 30,000 and particularly on, let's say, the mobile phone side was like 15,000. Within 15,000 I had no problem on knowing all the key guys of you know who gets stuff done and who's sort of shaping. So in a way, understanding why sort of Jensen is it sort of personalizes this company so much that it just has this extremely charismatic leader. And in this video that I told you about in the beginning of the lecture, sort of the engineer, he refers several times in this speech to Jensen, that Jensen wants this and Jensen wants that, and that's kind of not typical, you know, if you look at speeches of Googlers or speeches of Apple people, they don't go that, well, Tim told me to say this in a speech, you know, so that it's a very interesting and unique culture, and hence, you know, because it's so extremely profitable now, it simply will shape, you know, it's probably the company that will shape your life most of any company existing now. That's kind of the, you know, I've sort of looked at, you probably have watched, you know, 50 hours of you know, Jensen talking and interviews, and it's like, yeah, you know, they are shaping, they're the, you know, architects of the future right now.
Are you talking about Nvidia or Nokia?
Yeah, Nvidia, yeah. Sorry, Nokia's history. It's like, that is, yeah, please go ahead.
A little bit different topic, but something that we talked about. If you would start a startup in the late this year, would you need any more like really talented full stack coders. So do you,
Excellent.
do you have a
Excellent point, because I was listening to our Henry Hyppönen at that seminar like a couple of weeks ago. I usually don't participate in those meetings, seminars, but this one I participated. And then I heard Henry talk about that this is kind of I can't remember what was the timeline, but he said that like within a couple of years there will be one-person unicorns, meaning that there's only one guy and his or her AI, and then the company is valued like in billions. That's like after, I don't know, a year or two. So it's you don't need those. You just like, I don't know how to do it in practice, but like the AI team will help you. The small kind
So
of
you could,
bots.
like build it like you think about the company like a microcode, so that you buy the stuff that you don't rely on the AI agent. You buy like a security audits and
Yeah, well,
stuff like that.
one interesting kind of a point into that is that also again referring our Henry is that he always talks this. I can't remember what's the name of the concept. I should, but never listened too carefully. Him is kind of there are no kind of ready-made services, but once you log into, for example, some imaginary bank online system, on the go it will actually generate that service on the fly. Meaning that do you need some kind of loan? Yes. Then boom, it creates that service for you. So in a way, you don't anymore kind of design user flows or user journeys. You just give some kind of context. You are now a bank and taking care of money. You can give people loans and stuff like that. And then when some individual comes in, you authenticate, and then the software or the, I don't know, all that is in a way serving you on a fly based on what you need and how you interactive with that. Something like that. And actually coming back to a little bit, one of those points that I want to say is this maturization. To me, maturization is kind of a curse word, meaning that if something is mature enough, it means that everybody else is already there, being like a couple of years doing that same thing you are now trying to do. So scrap it. Other way around, that for example, Nvidia now, even though it's kind of a not great thing that the documentation all that is kind of a halfway there, but it's kind of a good thing in a way that once they publish and launch something, there is no one doing that at that moment of time. So if you're one of those who can build something new on top of that and then come out with that as a service or some business model, then you are the first one like entering that market, and then you own it. So that might be that one-person unicorn kind of a approach. So to me, the kind of I see everything that was like made 5 years ago, that's like gone already. So we have to take our eyes on the future, what's happening like down there somewhere pretty soon. And then maybe the final thing is that what you shouldn't do, and this is also something that I always heard from service designers, you shouldn't teach the user, but in this context it's like you shouldn't teach the customer about things, but you have to. They don't know about these things. You need to maybe spend like a year or two to educate your customers to understand these kind of a big themes or kind of topics, that what is digital twin, what is synthetic data, what is generative AI, what is an AI agent. You need to do that training, and then hopefully eventually they will buy and give you money. Yes.
Yeah, I will slightly disagree with the business approach that everything that you sell has to be new. For example, Apple can sell
yes, you're right.
features that are from Samsung phone 2 years ago, and then they sell it with better margins.
Yeah. Hey.
It's not always that you have to be the first, you just have to sell it good.
Yeah, I know, I'm from Nokia, they did the same to us, so they reinvented the phone. Yeah, you're right.
But many cases, yeah.
But like the new soil to start something new growing is that's something that I at least like that there are the opportunities to, but it's, you need to tell the story.
Or you can do the same thing but do it better.
Yeah, exactly.
I was actually thinking, imagining being in your shoes and what would be an interesting thought experiment which you actually could do in practice. You could now provide yourself as two for the price of one. So you send your CV and you have your digital twin or coding bot that works with you, and you send that, hey, I'll apply for a job, but I'll come in with my AI agent coding, and for the first 6 months you get me for us, you get us for half price. That type of CV could be quite fresh and differentiating, and it could be a great challenge for you that create it for yourself and start to manage a digital developer, because in 5 years time you will have to be an expert at managing those.
Little kind of like touching that topic, I said participated in the SIGGRAPH, and there was like Jensen Huang talking with the Mark Zuckerberg from Meta, and they were saying together when they have the fire chat that they somewhere in the near future you will have your personal AI companion, not any Siri, but like the real one, the one that actually can work for you. You can make it to do the job for you, meaning that it can go to work and you can stay home. So that's interesting, that how that can someone productize that one, that it's not any more kind of just another kind of a Googling AI that you just ask things, but like be proactively everywhere, like in your stuff and ecosystem. But that's definitely something that will happen. And do I send that person to work? Is that the one you sell to some customer, or do I have some spare one to send to work? I don't know, but let's see.
Yeah, please.
First of all, I have to say that this is the first class. I'm almost graduating, so this is the first course that has every time delivered something new. I've learned so much in this.
Really?
Thank you.
Big thanks, and because you guys, know the playground, what would be your estimate, like how many people in the world knows the same stuff that we know now, and what you know about the AI and the future of AI? Like, how big is the playground?
Every now and then I'm a little bit surprised that I think that our customers and partners and stakeholders, they know the same stuff, what we know, but usually they don't. So apparently this is still kind of a hobby of few, meaning that there's plenty of space jumping.
Not the buzzwords, not the hype, but actually.
Yeah, exactly. Because everybody can talk, as I said, like talk is cheap, it takes you nowhere. But like actually doing that stuff, it's really kind of rare curve. It's like you can easily fit into that. So it all comes back to that you need to do that something and send it to customer, and customer is willing to pay you money, and then you're done. That's the only thing that matters. But currently doing these things, maybe it's like a now like starting and having this kind of insane kind of curve upwards, but like currently it feels like people are just like starting to understand that what are different opportunities. But of course it's always the challenge that, okay, these are the awesome technologies what you have here, where I should use this to, like what to do with this. That's the main, and there you go back to the fact that you need people who are capable of doing concept design, like figure out business models, all that stuff. The tech itself is usually the last thing I want to talk with customers when they have to have some challenge. Even though we know this stuff, these are the things I want to sell. I want to sell the kind of a solution or fix to their problems, and that can be something that they don't, and maybe customers even shouldn't think about these things. These are just kind of enablers. But like from the competitive point of view, like different companies doing this stuff, you can easily fit in.
And I think that on some levels the world and the future is much closer to you now because of let's say YouTube. I don't spend time on X or but I spend a lot of time on YouTube. And yesterday I was partly prepping for this, and I feel personally that I know Sam Altman because I've listened probably 100 hours and Sam Altman. But again, yesterday he said sort of something that stuck with me in a big way, and that is that 40-year-olds use ChatGPT as a replacement for a search engine, 30-year-olds use it as an agent, and the 20-year-olds use it as an operating system. And then I was like thinking, what the fuck is an operating system of ChatGPT? And it's like, then he sort of completely lost me, and I'm like completely lost. I have no idea what he's talking about. But that's kind of what he's talking about. And then my question to you guys, because you're many in your 20s, so you fit into Sam's operating system. So who's using ChatGPT as an operating system? Okay, so what does Sam Altman mean? So what does he mean when he says using it as an operating system? Please educate me.
Me as well.
Mä en ole ihan varma. I'm not
Sano suomeksi vai jos? Mä voin kääntää. Okay, but then think about it. But because anyway, that to me is sort of fascinating, and it's often somehow in these almost like on the long path. I think there was like of that video there was like something like 100,000 views. So it wasn't the sort of mainstream speaking engagement like the TED Talk that he was with Chris Anderson also like 4 or 5 weeks ago. But sometimes you hear things that just sort of kind of fries your brain, and you go like, what the hell is he talking about, or what are these people talking about? But then you just have to be curious and start digging and finding out. And that's kind of how you stay relevant, how you get relevant. But for my talk next week, please somebody figure out what Sam was talking about, and let's talk about that next week. What is ChatGPT as an operating system in people's lives? Yes, please.
Yeah, I have a question for Sam.
Yeah.
What are the competence that you expect from the employees that you want to hire people, not using an AI agent?
Yeah. So I get it. That's a tricky one. I mean, from the point of view that, of course, we haven't. If there's a role open, depends what role it is, but more or less like now the kind of a group of what I have there is kind of good with their hands and they are creative. But as I said, like beginning of this session, that we used to have like 3D and XR people in silo or competence silo. Then we used to have like AI people in silo, but we demolished that like last year. I used to be a head of studio. Now I'm just like free floater in terms of CTO because of that. And it's a kind of a mix of all different kind of competences. So usually, at least I don't like look at the CV, like study this or that. What matters most is kind of a portfolio, that what I've done. Even though if they would be kind of a own demos or something, like not need to be like paid customer projects or something, but just to prove and show that you actually tinker some stuff and it's great and it's somehow can be attached to our business, what we're doing currently, and then there's a fit. But not like just like I don't know. That's if you have nothing, you need to start growing your kind of that portfolio. But it starts from the demos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. That one of the things I learned from my co-founder was always because I had to recruit developers, and I can't write a single line of code. So you know how that's kind of an impossible task. So he then educated me to say, hey, well, ask what is the code that they've written that they're most proud about, and then get them to talk about that code. And then if that story, then you can discover, you know, the excitement, the passion about that, and if there is that type of pride that I did this kind of thing, then you really immediately kind of get to level 2. And then of course my co-founder could look at that code and say, you know, is it beautiful code or not, and have a sort of next level of conversation. But I think, you know,
passion is really important.
Yeah, you have to have that passion and then build some beautiful demos, and then you go and show that.
Yeah.
I think that gets you a job.
That's awesome.
Hey, we are at 7 o'clock, 7:01. One more last question.
One more last question.
Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation.
My pleasure.
I feel like right now there's a big problem, at least for me, to find good news and resources on this topic. So I want to ask you, what are your main sources of like kind of to stay up to date in this world?
Yeah. My kind of a view into that is that there's too much coming in, but that might be because I'm so old. I can adjust all that what's coming in from all the different sources. Mostly I get this new stuff coming in from like directly from Nvidia, and also like the stuff what they publish on LinkedIn, and then someone forwards that to me, or I just like most likely you already have started to create your own kind of a network on LinkedIn or something. That's very valuable, because there most likely over time that mass of people will in a way emit outside all those signals and new stuff what you need in your own work, meaning that you need to nurture and build your kind of networking already like day one, and that's maybe the first and the most important channel to me to get to know stuff. And to be honest, on this chair, I'm getting more than kind of a sufficient level of like information coming in all the time. The challenge is actually to pick what is kind of relevant, and what's kind of what is more than just like good-looking pictures and nice stories, because you need to also see behind the curtains that what's the beef. Is it really like that in real life? Because it can be kind of a scam in a way.
So I'll answer one. I think for AI, where I'm spending a fair amount of time and learning is the podcast Hard Fork. Has anybody listens to Hard Fork? So Hard Fork is Casey Newton and then this other guy that I don't remember, and they are they're first of all funny pair, so it's sort of entertaining, but they're super smart New York Times journalists, and you know, to get to that level in journalism, you have to be best at your field. And then what they do is then they also get the best, you know, people onto their show, and they can go sort of quite deep. And there was, for example, a super famous thing that they talked about in an article they wrote, which was sort of the AI that loved me. I don't know if you heard that story, where Casey Newton was starting to discuss with essentially ChatGPT, which was branded under Microsoft, and where she was developing this kind of that I have a secret, and then, you know, she tells her that I love her, that the AI loves Casey, and that he should leave his wife, and that sort of turned into a really dark conversation, and Microsoft had to pull the plugs on rollout. And so he is able to, those guys are able to really get to the core. So check out Hard Fork. It's a great source. Cool. We are 5 minutes over. I will let you go. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, Sami.
Yeah, I need to get flying. It's my wedding anniversary. So someone all like.
Sami, thank you so much
Hey,
for the presentation.
it's my pleasure.